Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen 3.15.x performance tips guide. Some of this information might be pretty obvious to some, but I constantly get asked questions on performance tips and how to get more out of Star Citizen, so I thought I'd go through all the basics briefly at the very least and have somewhere to point people to. So please bear that in mind. Your mileage as well may vary with these. Some of them are going to work potentially very well, some of them are going to have no effect on you, and some might not be right for you at all. Star Citizen is much more performant than it used to be in the last few patches, so I also want to sort of talk in terms of mainly Windows 10. I'm not currently using Windows 11. It's not supported enough for me with all the software that I use, and I don't think it's particularly great with Star Citizen at the moment from what I can tell from what other people are saying. So if you are using it, I would expect that most of these things will still have a positive effect, but no amount of tweaking is going to make a PC with lower end hardware be able to run the game like a boss, so also bear that in mind. If you're having general crashing issues or other issues, a lot of things can be solved by relogging and reloading the launcher and then going back into the game. You can also perform a character reset in some cases. I will link the current issues for Alpha 3.5 and their workarounds down below. So if you're looking for a workaround, if you're like, why does my game keep on crashing? How do I solve this problem? You can probably find and search for your issue there. Let's start with some general driver advice. Get the latest drivers for your GPU, for your graphics card, at the very least. Also, Windows updates are a good idea for the most part as well. You can just Google everything that you need to Google to download the things that you need to download. I recommend at least considering updating your BIOS for your GPU and motherboard as well. Use the manufacturer's automated tool. It's not complicated typically, but please read up on it and do it at your own risk. I'm not going to be held responsible if you implode your graphics card or brick it. That said, I've had some great experience with updating my GPU BIOS. It unlocked a couple of features and actually seems to give me a higher frame rate in Star Citizen. When installing, make sure you put the game on an SSD or an NVMe drive. If you have it on a mechanical hard drive, it's going to be somewhat clunky and slow, and it's not going to be great. RAM-wise, as long as you've got 16 gigs of RAM, you should be okay, though 32 gigs is great. Also, you shouldn't need to change your page file anymore. That used to be something you could do to get some good gains, but now, unless you have a reason to do that, just let Windows handle it. If you're running low sort of end hardware, in some specific circumstances you might get some potential gains by fiddling with your page file, but it is very specific case. It's not something I recommend anymore. I've gained some frames and potential stability with disabling Windows 10 diagnostic and feedback, though by disabling that you will lose those Windows features. You can do this by pressing Windows key and R and then typing services.msc. Find the connected user experiences and telemetry, open its properties, and then go startup type and then change it from automatic to disabled. I used to recommend using a user.cfg, but most of these settings are now locked that I used to use, and you can use the console key, sometimes the tilde key or backtick key, but it's normally the key under the escape key to open up the console, and then you can actually enable things there that you might want to for debugging information, or probably the most useful one is r_display info equals 1, 2, or 3. Which gives you progressively more GPU graphics and frame rate information. But all the other settings that you're probably going to want to use are now in Star Citizen settings, and you can actually just go into your settings menu and change your graphics options and that sort of jazz. Let's talk more about those in-game settings. If you have a lower end system, then resolution concessions might be good for you. Maybe dropping it down to 720p might get you a lot more frames. But for people that just want to get higher frames on higher hardware, you want to be running at 1440p, you want to be running at 4K, there's some other stuff you can do as well that's sort of general, just give you higher frame rate. Make sure that you're on full screen rather than windowed or borderless. Also, make sure if you're going pure performance, then you want to be tuning your quality settings probably down to the lowest or off. So object, terrain distance, clouds, and FOV, turn all of those to the lowest, or for the case of clouds, off. I also recommend turning off motion blur and VSync, though some people say VSync helps, not for me. If you get awful screen tearing as well, you're going to want to have VSync on. Oddly, and this seems to be consistent across 3 different PCs I tried it on, I had much better performance with my quality settings set to medium rather than low. So the specific quality setting I put to medium, and you can put all the other ones on low or off. And then if you want clouds on, you can put them to medium if you still want to be performant. Make sure that you've got faceware enable VoIP face tracking turned off in comms and head tracking, the tab there. It used to turn on automatically. Some people that may not have known that and have got a very old Star Citizen installation still have it turned on sometimes, someone was saying. I also have some suggestions for NVIDIA and GeForce cards, because I own one. I can't talk more specifically about AMD cards, but GeForce cards, you'll want to open your control panel from the desktop, so right click there, open the NVIDIA control panel, and then go to 3D settings. Now, a couple of settings there genuinely help me. You probably want to go to program settings here and add starcitizen.exe, which may appear as Squadron 42, and we'll just change it as the defaults. Lower NPCs may want to set their max frame rate to something, but I just turn mine off. I don't want a max frame rate, I want it unlimited. You want to put power management to prefer maximum performance though, for sure. There's a low latency mode there as well, which you can turn off, on, or put on ultra. Now, that is something that you might want to fiddle with and see what works for you. It is going to vary widely dependent on what hardware you've got and where you're bottlenecking via your GPU or CPU or whatever else. So I recommend playing with those settings and just seeing if off, on, or ultra will work for you. Though this setting is supposed to reduce latency of frames, and in some cases can just entirely tank your frames per second, I do think it's worth trying, because I've had it a couple of systems that, especially the higher end, and it is mainly higher end PCs, they do very well with this. And if you're looking for a snappier, more responsive sort of like experience, then maybe that's what you want here rather than a higher frame rate, if you see what I mean. Also, something interesting is that people are talking about forcing on NVIDIA resizable bar. So you can do this basically if your motherboard and your card support it. This has your GPU and CPU communicating more directly. However, I haven't seen much improvement when using it myself for Star Citizen specifically. Now, it's not natively supported by Star Citizen, so maybe in the future, when it is natively supported, if it's native supported, when we get better Gen 12 renderer and Vulkan support, stuff like that, maybe we're going to get some good gains out of it. But I'll post a link about how you force that on down below, so you can do it. I had to update my GPU's BIOS to be able to use resizable bar and actually turn it on in my BIOS on my motherboard. And in some other games, it's fantastic. With low latency mode on and resizable bar on, I get a very quick experience. It feels a lot less slidey in a lot of games, so I can describe it. Absolutely fantastic for a load of VR stuff. But sometimes it's just better to wait for it to be implemented more fully. Delete your shaders folder. So this is common knowledge. After you've updated your game to a new version, you'll want to delete your shaders folder. If you have entirely freshly installed Star Citizen, then there is no need to do this. But once you've done a major update, or even a point X update, you will want to delete your shader folder, because it is common practice to do so, and there can be some problems and some performance, some issues with that. So Star Citizen install folder is wherever you've installed it, live/user/client/0, and then you want to delete the shaders folder there. You can change that to PTU instead of live if you're playing on the PTU. I know that was pretty basic, and a lot of that was saying, well, actually, user.cfgs don't really work anymore, and just make sure you do the basics, but that's as much as you can do at the moment in Star Citizen from my experience. And there are settings in-game now, they will affect the game to a good degree. Putting the normal quality setting on low seems to be bad compared to putting it on medium. Medium seemed a lot faster to me. I think maybe it forces frame rates down and does some other weird stuff, and makes it, probably forces more of it on the CPU than the GPU. If you have any sort of tips for performance, or you've got any questions about, is this working, how do I do this, and you want someone to answer, I'll try. You can chuck it down in the comments below. I suspect some other helpful people will help too. But yeah, I'll dig a little bit deeper for Alpha 3.15 and 3.16 to see if there's any more performance things that we can do. Basically, previously in Star Citizen, there used to be a bit more external magic we could do, at least somewhat, and now not so much. Those user.cfgs files and all that jazz just aren't as useful as they used to be if you want high performance. But on the plus side, Star Citizen is a lot better frame rate wise now in general. I hope this has helped some of you. I apologise if it's not helped anyone and it's a waste of time, but thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. And whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. It's November, and that means, yes, you're right, it's NordVPN season. All those delicious Nords are collected together to make the finest VPN that I shill for on my channel. Not only is NordVPN delicious, but it also protects. Check out the links below to get fantastic discounts, or go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Do you dream of being at the controls of your spaceship in real life? Well, now you sort of can with Game Glass. It turns touchscreen devices into diegetic controllers for Star Citizen, and you can get the basic software free. Check it out in the links below. Every month we have a ship giveaway as well. This time it's for a Mercury Starrunner, a multi-crew ship that will let you do a bit of everything in-game now. Or at least most things. Lots of things in-game now. In the future it might allow you to do smuggling and data running too. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos during November. More details down below. If you'd like to further support the channel, please consider clicking the join or thanks button under my videos, or even becoming a Patreon. You get some cool stuff to show that you're a true supporter of mine and Zin's art, some exclusive polls, ways of shaping the channel, some exclusive videos, all that sort of jazz too. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the verse.